another surprise out of nowhere. And we discussed yesterday Jimmy G versus Carson Wentz. The Washington Commanders have made their move. After calling every team in search of a quarterback, they have found a team that was more than willing to part ways with that. You get very motivated seller, extremely motivated buyer, and you have a new home for Carson Wentz. Back to the NFC East with the Washington Commanders, and there's a lot that was invested by Washington relative to where Carson Wentz's current talents are. A pair of third-round picks. Next year's third-rounder could become a second-rounder. They've swapped their second-round picks this year, which bumps Indy up by 5 spots from 47 to 42. And Washington gets the guy who was the second overall pick in the 2016 draft. There have been a lot of draft picks invested in Carson Wentz, from the trade up by Philly, the trade to Indy, and now the trade to Washington. My first reaction was, I can't believe they got that much with Washington also taking on the full salary. But when you consider how desperate Washington was to find a quarterback, it makes sense.
Definitely. I mean, I think you look at it and you go, okay, options available now after Aaron Rodgers picks Green Bay, Russell Wilson, Denver Broncos. They obviously had a hard no to the Deshaun Watson situation or didn't want to wait around for that. The next option to me after that, like we discussed a little yesterday, is Carson Wentz. Now, I know some people are going to go, wait, what about Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah, I get it. I'd take Carson Wentz over Jimmy Garoppolo. If all things are even, I'm going with Carson Wentz. And Jimmy Garoppolo just had shoulder surgery, and there's no guarantee he's going to be 100% by training camp or anything, around that time frame. So we'll see. And that's why, if you're Washington, you're sitting there, and as we've talked about a lot over the last 10 days, I mean, they're a team that was telling everybody, we need a quarterback, we need a quarterback. They were willing to get into conversations with whoever it was. They were making that clear, and they got left out. So they made a move with Carson Wentz, and I understand that. And again, Carson Wentz, he's a lightning rod subject at quarterback, but I do think he's worthy of being one of the 32 starting quarterbacks. He's still a good player. There's just issues that come along with it, and that's why he's going to be on his third team in 3 years, because I think there are issues there that need to be addressed or fixed or whatever you want to say.
Two comments from last week at the Scouting Combine that really resonate now that we see Washington making the move for Wentz. First, GM Martin Mayhew pointed out that he wasn't entirely sure there was a fair process last year in the trade that sent Matthew Stafford from the Lions to the Rams. So I think at some level, Washington, nervous about getting the rug pulled out from under them, just gets this done. Right. Let's not screw around. Let's not have some other team swoop in and get Carson Wentz.
Right.
Let's just get this done
He's
now.
An upgrade from what we got. It makes sense. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Let's not hold out for maybe something better. Let's not try to play hardball with the Colts, because next thing you know, we're going to lose the guy. And that's the other point. Ron Rivera, coach of the team, said, does anybody really care what was traded for Matthew Stafford last year? So at a certain point, you just say, pay the price. We want the quarterback. We don't care what it costs. 2 threes, fine. The third-round pick becomes a second-round pick if he takes 70% of the snaps, fine. Flip-flop second-round picks, fine. We just need an answer at the most important position. There was a time years ago, 2002, 2003 time frame, my wife and I came very close to buying a house, and it all fell apart at the last second. And you learn a valuable lesson from that. Don't worry about little details when you get yourself into that kind of negotiation. You want something, you go get it. There's a car you want. You know you can fit the price in your budget. If you screw around here or there for a little bit more, a little bit there, and you lose it, you never remember how much you pay for the car. If it's a car you can afford, it's a car you want, you don't remember how much you paid for it, whether you save $500 here, if you potentially lose the car. So I think that's the mindset.
I agree.
That the Commanders had. We want this guy. Will we be criticized for giving up too much? Maybe. But if he upgrades our chances in a diminished NFC, then so be it. And the expectations are going to be low. People aren't rallying to buy Commander season tickets as a result of this. This isn't a big star name, but it's a guy who was an MVP candidate, if not the likely MVP in 2017, and he has shown us some good things.
No doubt.
So I understand why they did it. I'm not saying he's going to be comeback player of the year, MVP candidate, or anything like that. There's some stuff they got to iron out, Chris, and the stuff they got to iron out is what went wrong in Indy.
Yeah. No, and I mean, it sounds like what went wrong in Indy was a little bit what went wrong in Philadelphia. It seems like it's the same old story there. You know, to what you said, first off, he's certainly an upgrade. Let's just hit on the football thing. I mean, Carson Wentz, he's big, he's athletic, he does have a strong arm. He's definitely a better player than Taylor Heineke. He makes your team legitimate. And to your point again, yes, I mean, people don't forget, it is. He was an MVP. If he doesn't tear his ACL, he's going to do that. 2019 carries a below-average Eagles team into the playoffs. I mean, really, almost single-handedly with no names on the offensive side of the ball. So there is potential there. But there's risk, as we see. Because, damn, the Colts gave up a whole crap load of picks and things last year to get Carson Wentz and took a tremendous risk. And for them to be getting him out of there in 1 year, I think says something too. And it's not like they're a bunch of hotheads there in Indianapolis where they're just impatient.
There's one.
Well, maybe there's one, but he had
boss.
enough. You're right. I mean, it seems like, and we talked about this last week, it seems like Wentz had Frank Reich in his corner. I don't know where Chris Ballard stood. I feel, I don't know this, that it was leaning towards more the Irsay side, of which Irsay, obviously, the king of the castle, had seen enough. And, you know, all the regular rumors you kind of heard about Carson Wentz in Philadelphia kind of percolated throughout the NFL as the year went on, too. And I think that's what's scary, or at least a little risky for Washington Commanders here with Carson Wentz, and we'll see where it goes.
Report from Zach Kiefer of theathletic.com yesterday said that the concerns by some, Irsay, and maybe others, lack of leadership, resistance to hard coaching, and reckless style of play. Exactly what the concerns were in Philadelphia.
Exactly right.
Exactly the same things.
Yep.
No difference. And here's my theory, Chris. I tried this yesterday on Miles Simmons on PFTPM. See, I get to workshop it there and then debut it here the following morning. I don't think Carson Wentz learned any lessons from what went wrong in Philly because he got safe harbor with a friendly coach in Indy. And the metaphor I used is problem child who gets passed from one family member to another family member, and the other family member is open arms. Oh, you're fine. Come on here. Yeah, we want you. Come move in.
Oh, I don't need to fix anything now.
Right. Now he's been kicked out
Right.
of the family. Now he's got to have the wake-up call. And maybe this is the time that he does it. And I have a high opinion of Ron Rivera as a head coach.
Me too.
And I think Ron Rivera is capable of saying the difficult things to Carson Wentz to iron out the issues because Carson Wentz has the hard part of the job down pat, relatively speaking.
Yeah, gotcha.
He's big, he's strong, he can throw, he can run.
Right.
It's the easier things, the little things, the things that anyone should be able to do that he needs to take care of. Submit to hard coaching. Become a better leader. And don't hold on to the ball like it's the final play in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Right. No, and I think that's, ultimately, I think we've been spot on about this, and of course I've had inklings of information, and I did a few radio hits out in Indy last week. I mean, we've discussed this. I mean, I think what we've said is very real. I think we both have a little bit of evidence from people we know to pull from here a little. Where, yes, Wentz, the vaccination thing was a real thing. I don't know who it bothered. It probably bothered Irsay. The fact that he did not get it. Hey, the quarterback of the team, the leader, the guy we don't want to really ever have to worry about, and we're paying the most money, is the guy we got to worry about the most. Sorry, everybody, even for the anti-vax crowd. That's just how the world works. One of your important employees that is paramount to the success is not doing something to help the success happen. Yeah, the boss gets a little mad and goes, oh, crap. We might not be as successful. I mean, shocker. So you have that, then below average play to start the year, then gets it going a little bit. But also, like we talked about, in the biggest moments, guess what struck? Oh, COVID, missed a week of practice, got to win one of the last 2 games of the year. One of them's a home game against the Raiders or the Jaguars, and he played bad football. Let alone with some of the bonehead mistakes you talked about. You sprinkle that in, and then you sprinkle in a guy that obviously has to work on his ability to relate to players in the locker room, right? That was the one thing you heard in Philadelphia, and that maybe he puts himself on a pedestal as compared to other guys there in the locker room, and you're kind of hear those same type of things there in Indy as well. So that's where the Commanders took the risk. I understand Indy abandoning ship there and moving on, and we'll see where they go now too, because they're an interesting spot with an open position.
Blowing that game week 18 at Jacksonville, the perfect bookend to being the only team to lose to Jacksonville the year before, although the Colts recovered to make it to the playoffs and they gave the Bills everything they could handle in the wild card round. But to lose that game, which was a de facto playoff game for the Colts, meaningless to a Jaguars team that was playing out the string with an interim coach who had no chance of getting the job. It wasn't like, hey, if you win this game, maybe you're going to be. No. And they lose that game.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Frank Reich didn't get fired the next day. I really am. Because Reich, as he said last week, stuck his neck out for Carson Wentz. Whoever's fault it was that this guy was the quarterback is gone. And Jim Irsay showed remarkable restraint and giving it one more try. But there's no way that Frank Reich and Chris Ballard were going to pin their employment on Carson Wentz.
That's
they knew
right.
damn well they had to get that guy out of there. And I think they would have cut him if they weren't able to find a trade partner.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. It seems like it had come to that point. Like it was like he's not going to be here. It did seem like it got there. And, hey, good for Jim Irsay not firing Frank Reich, and because I still think he's a really good football coach. I understand Frank Reich liking Carson Wentz, but, hey, this is the issue. And this is the issue with the Commanders, because if it doesn't work, this is where the Carson Wentz risk is. If it doesn't work, everybody throws it in your face. Oh, look, it's Carson Wentz. What'd you expect? I mean, we knew he did dumb things. That's what he does. He does Carson Wentz things. So, yes, to your point, that's where you hope Ron Rivera can have some real talk with him. You hope Scott Turner can continue to help him turn the corner. It is an offense, I think, that will fit Carson Wentz, because of his skill set. But, yes, he's got to improve in some areas, on the field, off the field. And, if he can do that, then, as we've always talked about, Washington still, as a team, has potential to make some noise next year.
There's a real difference between public Ron Rivera and private Ron Rivera. The Amazon series, All or Nothing.
A little edgier.
They focused on the Panthers. Holy crap.
Yeah.
His vocabulary is more colorful than yours when he's
My kind of
in the
guy.
locker room. But I could see him very no-nonsense, old-school conversations with Carson Wentz about what he needs to do. And to the extent that he believed he was on a pedestal, that pedestal's been kicked out from under him now.
Yeah.
He's been fired by the Colts. Last year you could make the argument that he wanted out of Philly and he got out of Philly. Like, he won. See, again, what lessons did he learn about his own behavior and decisions in Philadelphia when he feels like he won with a trade that sends him to someone who understands him? Frank Reich understands me. He gets me. It's going to be fine. Now he's been thrown out by Frank Reich. I think that he's in a position where he's impressionable, and Ron Rivera and company are going to be able to get through to him. Or not. And that's the other thing, too. This is the last chance for Carson Wentz. We did the draft the other day.
Yeah.
Teams or quarterbacks most likely to have a new starting job in 2022. And Carson Wentz was my first pick, and I thought, well, are we sure anyone's going to make him the starter? And I looked around. It's like, yeah, somebody's going to make him the starter.
Right.
He's good enough to be someone's starter.
Exactly.
He's not a Super Bowl quarterback, but he's good enough. When you consider Mason Rudolph in Pittsburgh, Taylor Heineke in Washington, he's good enough to start for somebody.
No doubt.
He's going to be that Week 1 starter, assuming he's healthy. Because remember, there was a question about that last year in Indy. He had the foot injury that popped up out of nowhere. That's another thing.
That was an issue.
Clouded the relationship from the get-go.
Yeah, no question. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of things there, definitely. I think that's, ultimately that's where the Colts kind of just got exhausted by it. And then, when you get to that point and there's exhaustion of, whether he's the guy to lead the team and there's some things off the field and you're not just blowing it away on the field, that's when teams get sick of you. So we'll see. But there is potential, to your point. The guy is a good football player still. It was 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions last year. There was still a lot of good. There was. I know we still had – it's just the worst moments came at the worst possible times for the Colts franchise. And that, is a double whammy there too. Oh, and, hey, the Bucs game, some big interceptions in the second half. You look down the stretch, hey, the Patriots game, they were in total control, did some dumb things there in the second half to let them have second life. And then, of course, what we know he did the last 2 weeks was underwhelming. Forget the stats, too. That's where people look, well, the Raiders game, the stats weren't that bad. Yeah, they were. They were that bad. There was big plays missed that were wide open that'll just go down as an incompletion, but it's like, oh, no, this was a game-changing play or throw, or this guy was this wide open, and we didn't see him. So But if I'm Washington, I'm still excited because I do think it's a significant upgrade from the quarterback they had. And there will be no limitations on offense or pass patterns down the field, and that's where Carson Wentz is going to open up that offense a little bit for Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and Logan Thomas when he gets back from his ACL injury.
I remember what promise Washington had last year in the season. Ryan Fitzpatrick gets injured week 1. Taylor Heineke takes over, and that's that. So, and I feel bad for Heineke, but he had his shot. He had his chance. All a guy can ask for is a chance. And it's the ultimate accountability of wins and losses and what you do on the field. And at the end of the day, he didn't do enough. And now Carson Wentz gets chance number 3. And he's back in the NFC East. He'll be back in Philadelphia this year. Obviously, they'll play the various teams in the NFC East twice. And he goes back to Indy. I love this, how the schedule works. When you're talking about moving from one conference to another, he goes back to Indy the first year. Russell Wilson goes back to Seattle the first year. This is great.
It is
and
great.
That game, Washington at Indianapolis, okay, fine. Now, okay,
it could
fine.
be good.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Monday night game. I feel like that'll be a Monday night game. I feel like, and again, we don't know anything about the scheduling. They never consult with us and never confer with us. But I just gut feeling. I see Broncos at Seahawks on a Sunday night or a late Sunday afternoon, and I see Carson Wentz going back to Indy on a Monday night.
I can see that.
I see that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Maybe
even a Philadelphia Monday night game too, where he goes to Philly.
You want to get more people to dial up Amazon Prime on Thursday night, which is going to be a challenge because it's not on over-the-air TV, and millions still rely on over-the-air TV. And the idea you have to go, you have to have the right TV and Amazon Prime, and you give Washington and Indy to Amazon on Thursday night. Oh boy. That's a way to get a lot of people signed up for Amazon Prime.
Is it better than Washington at Philadelphia? You could sell it like, hey, here's Carson Wentz versus the guy who stole his job in Jalen Hurts. And I'm just asking.
I think both.
Yeah,
I think
both are good.
Both.
I know,
and
right?
Now, if it had been straight from Philly to Washington like the Donovan McNabb trade, it would be even more compelling. But the 1 year gap in between takes some of the steam out of it, and I think most fans in Philly, they're not going to be mad at Carson Wentz. They're glad they got rid of him. So, it's not like the guy who was really good and decided, screw you, Philly, I'm going to go somewhere else and pursue my fortune. They were like, get this guy out of here. We're done with him. So right. I don't know that there'll be the same venom, but again, it's Philly. There's always going to be. The venom's always there. It's
implied.
I got no problem with it.
Yeah,
I got no problem with it. But
right.
They'll find a way to get lathered up about Carson Wentz coming back to town. So you may be right. That game may be more attractive. You've talked me into it. Either way, they're both.
They're both very good.
Washington, Philly, Washington, Indy.
Right.
Compelling games that otherwise would have been, why are we watching this? Because it's on TV.
Yeah.
Not yet.
One, the whole city kicked him out. The other, the owner kicked him out. So it's just whatever storyline you like better.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.